what's up, folks? This is Rusted Compass, and I'm Will, your host. And today we're going to talk about, well, really a bunch of things, but our Biketoberfest update. Man, boy, was it a wild weekend, and it was just a great weekend, really. Met with just a ton of people. Well, a lot of them, really. I get tongue-tied, who knows. But no, man, we came down here, got invited by one of my buddies, had a great time, stayed with one of his buddies who introduced me to a plethora of things and people that I probably wouldn't ever have met before, or maybe I would have, who knows. You know, the universe just lined it up however it was supposed to be lined up, I guess. But day one, we had the stunt drags, or the stunt show over at Orlando Harley, which was Thursday. Then Friday and Saturday we had the drifter drags over at Volusia Top Gun over here in Daytona. And then Sunday we finished it up again with another stunt show. Boy, was it hectic, crazy. A lot of great riders came out. A lot of people came out to enjoy the festivities because Biketoberfest here in Daytona was going on. I want to say it's their last bike event of the year. But man, was it great just getting out and being back in the communities, just doing motorcycle stuff again, you know. It's been a long time since I've done motorcycle things, so one of those things I always really just enjoyed and loved being around, and ever since I was a little child. But I got to meet a bunch of the stunt riders. Icon had their riders out. Big shout out to Kyle Sliger and Eric Trimmer. Wonderful, great guys. And then John over at Icon as well. Real good dude. Met with them all weekend, had a great time. I shot a lot of photography and some videos and just a bunch of cool stuff. You know, big shout out to Drifter Drags for hosting it all. Saddlemen's and Icon for helping put it on, along with a bunch of other sponsors. My studio Ascension, we were out there doing the audio and music for the events. So we had that going on along with me, you know, doing photography and, you know, some video work. Got a lot of content. We're coming up with just, man, I got so much content. I'm just overwhelmed, man. It's just, but it's great. I'd rather have that than none. So, but yeah, I got to meet Doug, the owner of Drifter Drags and OF Performance in Tap It Right. He owns all that, so he's let me stay with him. He's a veteran as well, just like me and my buddy. Let us stay with him. Had a great time. He's been such a great host, wonderful dude. Like I said, he's introduced me to different people. We went out to different parties, different bike events throughout the week, and it's just been really big and hectic on the go. Like just so much stuff, getting content, meeting people. You know, and I've never been like a network to advance myself. I just always been kind of a network kind of guy. Just, hey, what's up, you know? But no, man, I was definitely put in the light of some people, and I think we had some pretty good conversations. My first Biketoberfest for sure, which I thought was pretty sweet. I think they estimated about 200,000 here in Daytona, which was, you know, kind of a lot. But you know, what's that? Bike Week, Daytona Bike Week. Sorry, brain fart. They have like 600, 700,000 that come down for that event. So I mean, it's still pretty good to have two events in a year that have that amount of people. It's just awesome, you know. I got to meet people from all over the world that came down, and it was just a really good time. High energy, a lot of revving, a lot of smoke, a lot of burnt tires, a lot of wheelies, and I didn't see any wrecks, but I'm pretty sure there were some. No troubles with the police or nothing, you know. It was pretty good. It was a pretty good time. I definitely recommend it. But now, you know, after the Biketoberfest, it's kind of a cool down here in Daytona. Really nice weather, man. It's beautiful. Main Street had a lot of, it was pretty dead. They had a lot of people down there, probably just resetting and getting ready for the regular work week. I went to the gas station this morning and they didn't even have any gas, so I had to go to another gas station, and luckily I had enough gas to get there. Because if you know me, I run out of gas a lot, so it just happens. I don't know. I just don't listen to that little gauge thing, but it's all good. But yeah, man, overall it's been a great time, and which brings me to my next point. Veterans helping veterans, man. I have encountered a lot of that in the last year, just a ton of it, where veterans are just always out there helping veterans. We're all trying to, we have that like mindset, and it's really hard for us to adapt to normal society, really. I, for one, didn't think it was, but it turned out to be much more difficult than I had anticipated. But it happens. Being around those types of people, the veterans, it's a good support system for other veterans. So if you were in my position and you didn't think that was a good idea, well, you might just be wrong. I'm not one to tell you you are or not. It's your decisions, really. But when I got out of the service, I didn't want to be around veterans. I didn't want to go talk about war stories. I didn't want to talk about the old days, because I've never really been that kind of way. I've always been like, hey, let's go find some new adventure, let's go do this, that, and sure, we got to reminisce and stuff on the old days, but we can't live there too long. Got a plane flying over. That's kind of cool. But, sorry, ADHD. Now, what I want to get to, though, is, let me see. I was once that way, and I've found out the hard way that you do need the support system. The veterans, we know how to take care of each other. We've been doing it for many years, and it's just one of those things that you discredit, that you don't think is as valuable as it is, and it really is. We're all just trying to make it in life, but nobody really gets our ways of doing things because we've been trained so much in the military. Whether you did 4 years or 25 years, of course it's going to take a little bit longer either way, but it makes it hard to transition into regular civilian life and kind of get the norms of those things, because we're used to things being a certain way, and oftentimes they're a lot more stringent, and it takes a lot more brute force type stuff, and just a whole different mindset than, hey, can you guys go do this, or whatever the case, But my main thing with that is I've had kind of a spiritual awakening of sorts with all that. Had a lot of veterans step in, probably behind the scenes, and kind of help and guide me through things and get me through a lot of stuff. And it was, it's turned out pretty well. I found the organization Sheepdog. They've been great to me. And if you haven't heard of them, go check them out. I'll see about putting a link down below. That way you guys go check them out easier. But they help veterans and first responders with just a bunch of trauma, and they also go out and help do disaster reliefs. They do outdoors adventures, and then they have their Warrior Path program, which I've been through all of them. So it's pretty good. I'd say check it out. Don't discredit it, and it will benefit you. I promise. Don't matter what your standings is or whatever. It's good for you. But like I said, I got out and I went through the struggles. Hang on. That's a big plane. Well, more of an airliner. But anyway, like I said, man, when I got out, I had a lot of struggles with dealing with just stuff I was going through, like the depression, the PTSD, the anxiety, the horrible relationship stuff that I was in, bad habits, alcohol, drug, all that good stuff, right? I was dealing with all of it. And then I hit rock bottom, and of course I didn't want to be around veterans. But what ended up happening was I had to get back on my feet, because all my support system had left. I'm talking just boom, drop, gone, bam, out of there. Then I had to figure it out on my own, which no problem. I've always kind of felt like I've done that myself anyway, whether I have or not. It's kind of my mindset. I've always figured it out, but it made me stronger going through, and then finding out all these things and just kind of going through and experiencing all this stuff made me stronger. And look at me now. I went from being homeless, strung out, alcoholic, everything, to now I can support myself. Still working on that part, but of course it's a thing every day. We got to just continue to get better, and I'm a work in progress. I'm not there yet, but I am on the way. So I went from all that to now I have a vehicle. I have a new motorcycle. I got 2 motorcycles really. And then now I get to shoot photography and, my podcast here. I finally got that going after saying I was going to do it for many years. And yeah, we may not be good at it yet, but, it exists. So now I can hone it. So that's kind of the way I see it. So these things will get better, I promise. But the point of this is that support system that I left, that I thought left me, was still there, just in a different site, right? So the veterans have just, in the last year, definitely come out and helped, and I found tons of great people that were veterans, and they've helped me out with a bunch of different business things, and it's just a great time, really. And then, it wasn't what I thought it was going to be, just talking about all the old stories or blah, 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 like none of that stuff. So, which to me has been kind of a blessing, because I'm not kind of really into that kind of talk anyway. But if you are, it's not a big deal. I mean, it's just your thing, not mine. But my thing is, the veterans are out there helping veterans. They're doing great things for people, still active in communities, doing great stuff, getting involved, helping out when they can, progressing themselves, and just doing everything that they can, really. And I'm pretty blessed to have that and be a part of that still. But yeah, and that kind of leads me into my story, really. I've been telling you guys this for a couple weeks now, that I'm going to tell you my story. So, here it is. I went to the military when I was 18. I was having a great career. I was going up the ranks, made staff sergeant, was staff sergeant for like 7 years, and then everything just started falling apart. Started drinking a whole lot more, just partying, having a good time, letting loose, really just saying fuck it. And because I never really had that in my life where I could just unwind. It was always work, 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 and I was progressing, doing great things, but then I burned out. And that happens a lot to a lot of people, a lot of good people. They work, 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 and then they burn out. You got to find that balance. And I never did until I hit rock bottom, and I was drinking, drugs, you name it, man. It was everything, man. Until I ran it to the ground and all the friends left. And then I got back on my feet. I went to school. I got college degrees, music production from the Los Angeles Film School, which I absolutely love that school. A bunch of good people, real friendly, just great environment. And now I get to make music and make videos and shoot photography, which turns out I'm actually pretty decent at. So that's kind of my story. I went through addictions, from alcohol, drugs, sex, you name it, man. I was codependency, probably everything. So, and I'm not saying that I've been through more than the next person, but what I'm saying is my story has brought me all the way down, and I'm going all the way back up, because that's where I want to be. And if I could leave you with one thing today, is keep pushing and keep trying, because no matter what happens, you can still make it. And I think if you believe in yourself, you can do great things. And those great things could be a number of things. It could be anything helping your neighbor. That's a great thing. Not a lot of people don't do that. Or you could, be be like Elon Musk and send ships to space. I don't know. You got to be your own gauge of your own success, really. Me, I just want to be my goals. I'll give you a little rundown of my goals, really. I just want to be able to sustain myself without having to worry about money, because growing up, I don't think we really had much money. We always had a roof over our head and food on the table. You know, my parents did a pretty good job about that. But I really wanted to travel the world and all these other things and get out and see the world, explore, see new people, you know, because I always felt like staying in one area kind of railroads you, you know, it kind of leaves you in one type of mindset. And I always had like the big picture mindset of, oh man, these people and that and this, you know, just cool, you know. There's a lot of great people in the world, and you know, my mindset once was kind of, you know, there are shitty people out there, and kind of one of those things, you know, like, fuck everyone, you know, you ain't doing shit for me, blah blah blah. But you know what, if you have a negative mindset, you're gonna see nothing but negative stuff, you know. I am a firm believer that as much negative as there is, there's just as much positive, and it balances out. And maybe that's just a Libra thing of mine. Oh, a bunch of birds just flew off. But you know, you gotta, you know, it's not even a half cup or a cup that's half full or half empty, you know, because who cares what level it is? Just refill the damn thing, you know. You don't always just have those two options, you know, so just go refill it. It's fine, you'll be okay. I promise, I've refilled mine numerous times. But here's the thing though, is it's your mindset, you know. How can you handle stuff at your very worst and turn that into a powerful thing and choose growth instead of sitting there and sulking in it, you know. And mind you, I was sitting there sulking in it for a long time and stuff, and you know, I finally was like, you know what, I can't do this no more. You know, I even got to the point when I hit rock bottom, I put a pistol to my head and pulled the trigger, and all it did was click, you know. And that's kind of hard for me to even say, especially to the mass, you know. But I've been in all these things, and I thought I was just the most worthless piece of crap there was, and I tried ending it. But look at me now, you know. I'm fit. I go to the gym mostly regularly. I haven't gone since I've been on this trip, but it's driving me kind of crazy, really. But you know, my biggest thing is you can overcome these things. You know, you don't have to sit and stay in that environment. You can always move, and there's always somebody out there that will help you. But you got to also be willing to help yourself, and you know, and sometimes helping yourself actually looks different than what you think it does, you know. And we'll get into that part in a little bit different episode, but I just want to leave that with you guys and let that resonate, you know. You know, I read a book that kind of changed how I looked at things. I am a Mason and I'm a Shriner, so I do a lot of community stuff and parades and help with the Shrine hospitals and getting our patients to and from there, and you know, raising money for all that, because at the end of the day, everything we all do is typically for the kids. That's kind of what I've kind of gathered, you know. It doesn't matter if you're the bottom feeders or, you know, the top of the top. There's always that one common denominator, and it's always look out for the kids, and that's kind of where I'm at with that. But I read this book a while back, and I'm not a book reader by no means. I'm Arkansas educated, so I never really took into reading, but I do watch, I do look at the pictures though. It's probably why I like photography. But it was The Secret Teachings of All Ages. You know, it's kind of they call it a kind of an encyclopedia of esoteric and philosophical knowledge. But what I did is I read it, and it's a really deep book, so you got to really open your mind to it. But you know, applying those principles and things to my life has really kind of kind of made it a whole lot easier. You know, one thing that caught my mind, or caught my attention in that book, was a thing that Manly P. Hall said. It was, to have a clear mind, it has to be restrained from the vices of life, I think, or something along those lines. Maybe not those exact words, but you know, in order for me to have a clear thought, I can't be addicted to alcohol. I can't be addicted to sugar, even caffeine, all these different things, you know. And I still struggle with sugar and caffeine, but I'm getting better at it. But I got rid of all those other vices, and you know, I got to my most stable mindset, and it has drastically changed my life. So, you know, I challenge you guys to do that yourself, you know. I'm not telling you to go and get rid of all your vices, you know, but because it takes a lot of work, and it's really not easy. But if you can get to that point, you start looking at life, and you can see all the great things in life, and the different, like, oh man, you know, this was actually making me feel like crap, you know, the sugar or caffeine or whatever the case is. And it's just, you know, all that kind of I took from that book, you know. And it's not a health book by no means, but all the different principles and things like that I took, and I applied it to my life, and it got a whole lot better. So you know, that book, it really helped me, and I'm not much of a reader, but I did start reading a little bit, so that's pretty cool. Sometimes in order to have a better life, you absolutely have to just throw everything you knew out the window and try something new. Don't be afraid of that. So that's kind of my story, you know, going from military to rock bottom to where I am now. And by no means am I on top of anything, you know, but I am climbing up my ladder to my success. And I get to go out and do cool shit. Like, I'm in Daytona. Last week I was in Louisiana hanging out with a friend. Here shortly I'll be going back home, and then I'll be going on a flight to Milwaukee. And I've never been to Wisconsin before, so that's kind of cool. So, you know, I say get out there, you know, stay positive, do what you can, and man, that's what we can do, you know. I want to apologize for my crappy podcast last week. I just had a whole lot going on, and we weren't able to do a whole lot because I was busy. I came in, jumped right in feet first like I normally do, which makes it kind of hectic at times. But I got to do all that cool stuff at Biketoberfest and all that good stuff. Experience a lot of new things. Life, it's not here to just live, you know. You got to go experience it. Don't let it experience you. You go experience it. So go out there, go find some new stuff to like, man. Maybe you like hiking, maybe you like jogging. I don't like running. If I'm running, it's probably from a bear or something. But just go out, have a good time. I think you guys will enjoy it, and it'd be a blast. That's all for today, and I want to thank everyone for joining me and watching my channel, listening to it. And I want a big shout out to 77 Cycles, Drifter Drags, Icon, Saddleman, and just all the people I met this weekend. You know, Kyle Sliger, Eric Trimmer. You guys are all great people. It is awesome meeting all of you, and hopefully I get to work with you guys in the future. And yeah, let's see where this journey takes, and just keep riding the wave. We'll see you guys next time.